Now, Russia has unleashed some relentless strikes in the bitter Ukrainian winter. Ukraine continues to strike deep inside of Russia, and the fierce fighting continues to rage on. A trilateral meeting is underway between Russia, Ukraine and the United States in Abu Dhabi to end this war that has dragged on for almost 4 years. Our next report decodes the points of contention between Russia and Ukraine and what is preventing peace.
Arctic temperatures, no heating and days spent in absolute darkness. Kyiv has plunged into the worst winter energy crisis in the last 4 years of the war. Russia's relentless missile and drone strikes are taking a toll on the country's energy infrastructure. 2 weeks after a massive Russian attack crippled the power grid in Kyiv and cities across the country, the residents are still in the grip of power and heat blackouts. This time around, the temperatures have dipped below -20 degrees Celsius, and the chances of power coming back looks slim.
Our building has electric heating. It's extremely cold there, 5 to 7 degrees Celsius, and living like that with a small child isn't normal. The elevators don't work, and since I'm pregnant, it's very hard for me to walk up to the 10th floor. What can I say? Today there was, as you may know, another attack, and after that the number of people at all our locations increased significantly. Not just here, there are more people at our other sites too, because the outages are longer, there are heating issues, and I know from our emergency services that the situation is much worse than it was, say, yesterday.
Russia has continued to strike Ukrainian cities even as repair work is underway. Ukraine claims several killed in Russian drone attack in Donetsk region. Ukraine is striking back. Russia claims a Ukrainian drone caused a massive fire at an apartment building in its Adizhia region. The fighting rages on as US, Russia, Ukraine are holding 2-day trilateral talks in UAE. Ukrainian and Russian negotiators are tackling the vital issue of territory. Ukraine is under mounting US pressure to reach a peace deal. A key stumbling block is Putin demanding Ukraine to withdraw from 20% of Donetsk, which Russian forces have so far not managed to take on the battlefield in the face of fierce Ukrainian resistance. Zelensky, who is under immense pressure from US President Donald Trump to end the war, has refused to cede any land to Putin.
We speak about one issue which is the most difficult, which did not solve, and I think that trilateral meetings maybe will show each other variants. It's all about the eastern part of our country. It's all about the land. This is the issue which will not solve yet.
Putin has laid a fresh condition. He says Russian troops will continue to strike Ukraine until a consensus is reached. With Trump pushing very hard to end the war, the big question is, will Ukraine and Russia agree on the fate of Donetsk? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Ms. Jane Kinnenmont, who's the CEO of the United Nations Association from the United Kingdom. Ms. Kinnenmont, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this is a trilateral format of engagement that is taking place in Abu Dhabi. In your assessment, do you think these talks in which all three parties are going to be present can actually lead to a resolution of this conflict?
Well, it is significant that the three sides are meeting together, and yet, as your report has underlined, it does seem that they are still quite far apart. US negotiators have been saying that there is only one issue remaining. That issue appears to be land, but it's actually about more than land. The reason that Ukraine has been resisting conceding on land is that it worries that Russia will not be satisfied with any land compromise and that it will come back for more after any ceasefire, that any ceasefire will only be temporary. But the same concerns exist in the other direction as well. When I have spoken to Russian experts in Russia or from Russia in recent weeks, they have emphasized that there's also a concern on Russia's side that Ukraine will remain Russia's enemy while the current government in Ukraine is still in place, and that any ceasefire could provide time for that government to regroup and come back to liberate its territory. This is where the security guarantees idea have come in, but at the end of the day, it is hard to see how credible those are at this time when the US is really getting fed up of its security commitments, even to NATO allies.
You know, I think that is a crucial point that you've raised. Now, the issue is of land that Russia wants Ukraine to give up as part of these negotiations. But also another part is about security guarantees, for which there is this coalition of the willing, as it is called, that is willing to put in its troops in a buffer zone, and it also wants the Americans to be involved there. But the Russians have flatly said that any involvement of Western NATO troops in a buffer zone along with Ukraine is simply unacceptable to Russia. Do you think this is a hurdle that can be realistically crossed?
It's not impossible to resolve it if the political will is there. If you had a peace agreement, you could, in principle, take that to the UN Security Council. You could have a UN peacekeeping force, which would have the buy-in of China as well. You could look at having troops from non-Western countries in there, as is the case with many other UN peacekeeping forces. But we are still very far away, it seems, from that sort of peace deal. And it remains very much seen as an issue between the US, Russia and Europe, with other countries staying out of it.
Interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Jane Kininmon, for joining us with that perspective there.